In many of our homes, the TV unit is quite often the focal point, but it doesn't have to be that way. There are many other ways to create points of interest, and today we'll show you how. Rodney Fittinghoff of Streamlight shows us exactly how lighting can become a focal point, and interior designer Tessa Proudfoot gives a demonstration of how to create these points of interest. Veteran interior designer Sharon Nicolaci gives us more examples of focal points in her home. Keeping you inspired right here on Design for You. Hello and welcome again to Design for You. My name is Pilani Bubu. I know for sure that we're always asking ourselves the question, what more to do to our space? Today we bring to focus ways of adding more visual interest to our space by creating focal points.
There are many ways to create focal points in your home, and one of these is lighting. We all know it to be a functional essential, but it can also be an effective decorative element.
Over the years, there has been a change in lighting, and especially with the advent of LED lighting that has come to the fore in the past half a dozen to 10 years. It's made for us to be able to do lighting in concealed ways. Very much smaller detailing can be achieved, and I think that the technological advancements over the past few years in lighting has been absolutely vast, and it's therefore changed the whole concept of the way we design today. It's only really decorative lighting that become focal features because they are elements of art themselves, they're pieces of beauty in their own right. Whereas concealed lights, downlights, spotlights that feature art on the walls, that highlight other elements, they are more general lighting, ambient kind of lighting. But for focal points, you'll use pendants, you'll use clusters of pendants, wall lights possibly. We were talking about using a pendant as a focal point in a house. The one we're looking at the moment is called the triple circ. It's ideal for very big volumes, entrance halls, dining room tables. You can see that the fitting itself made up of 3 circles, and you can adjust them yourself. You can have them all parallel to each other, you can have them staggered. The model does come dimmable, so if you're using it over dining room tables or areas where you want to create soft ambient moods, you can dim the product down. If it's in a big space, double volume, what have you, it may not be necessary to dim because it's quite bright in its own right and you don't really need to. This fitting is called the rhythm. So you can see the way it's been set now is very rhythmic. It flows and it's wonderful in its format like this, but it has the option of actually fiddling with this thing and changing the whole look of it just by moving these arms, and you get a totally different look. Clustering of various pendants together is a very effective way of filling up spaces, of filling up heights, because a lot of homes today are using big volumes and high ceilings, and rather than having one big chandelier as we focused on before, to cluster fittings, smaller fittings together, grouping them at different heights, different colors, is a very effective way of making a focal point in a home. Wall lights can also become features and focal points. You get various sizes and shapes, and this particular configuration is just made up by us because you literally have one power point and these things are all pivoted, so you can actually maneuver the shape of this thing to get many different kind of outcomes from the one fitting. It's almost a piece of art in its own right. The lighting is all LED lighting that is backlit, so you're getting a reflection from the wall. So again, it's very soft to the eye and very comforting. I believe it's very important for it to tie into the decor, to the colors, to the style of the home. You know, a very contemporary home will demand a contemporary light fitting, although today it can be quite exciting to actually mix antiques with very contemporary stuff. If it's done tastefully, it works very well, and that's where, again, working with interior people hand in hand is very important. But most certainly, the architecture, the style of the house, the features in the architectural design certainly lead us to the kind of fittings that are eventually chosen.
Light is a big part of our everyday lives. As a focal feature in your home, it can accentuate and strengthen other structural and decorative elements of your design.
So really great advice there from Rodney on how to use decorative lights as focal points. If you look at them as beautiful pieces of art, you can use them on the wall, on the floors, or the ceiling. But right now I have our featured guest, Tessa Proudfoot. She's the creative director of the award-winning company, Tessa Proudfoot and Associates. She's got a client base reaching from the USA to Europe. Welcome, Tessa.
Lovely to be with you.
Thanks. Now tell us a little bit about yourself and your home. What's the favorite or your most favorite thing about your home?
I think the main thing is that it really is a home. The pieces that I have, I've collected from various different places all over the world on various different travels. So they all mean something to me. So as much as something needs to be very visually appealing, it's not only about the visually appealing part of it that attracts me. It needs to have a bit of a soul and a meaning for me as well.
And a story.
Yes.
And so talking about that, what's your favorite accessory, would you say?
I would say I have a beautiful antique mirror which I bought from a market in Paris about 20 years ago. And in those days I didn't know very much about antiques, and I'd like to think that I know a little bit more now. And it was a serious bargain, and it's very, very precious to me.
If you were to choose to design any interior, what would it be?
At the moment, we are actually in the process of designing a beautiful luxury high-end game lodge in Tanzania, which is like a dream job. I suppose I would also, on the dreamscape side of things, I'd really love to be able to design my own beach house interior set sort of almost in the waves. That would be a real dream for me.
That's beautiful. In South Africa or in like Saint-Tropez?
Oh, South Africa, the Cape Coast. I mean, it just doesn't get better.
No, it doesn't.
It really doesn't.
After the break, we continue chatting to Tessa, and she's going to give real-time demonstration on how to create points of interest in our home. Stay tuned. You're still watching Design for You, and we're talking focal points. I have Tessa Proudfoot, and she's about to give us a practical demonstration on how to create these points of interest in our homes. Tessa, before we get into it, let's describe what a focal point actually is.
I think the easiest way of describing it would be to say that as you walk into a room, it's the thing that immediately draws your eye in, and it establishes the mood of the room, what the space is for, and it basically says, you know, welcome to the space. We're going to eat here, or we're going to sit here, or we're going to cuddle up next to the fire.
I love that. Now, what are the different focal points that we can create?
Look, the beauty of design is that nothing's set in concrete, so you always have free rein to be creative. But I think that, you know, the natural points that are good to create a focal point, as you call it, would be a fireplace, a long sort of straight wall that is relatively empty. A corner is always good, and I think a coffee table also gives one leeway to kind of, you know, draw the eye in and make the space welcoming.
I believe we're in the dining room here, and we have an empty console. Tell us what you're going to do here.
Well, this table behind me is a server, but it also acts as a drinks table for the whole home. So what I've got here is I've got a random selection of pieces that I like, that I find interesting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to arrange them on this table in such a way as to make this room pop. I want it welcoming, and I want people to know that as they walk in, they're welcome in this home.
So where do we begin?
Well, I'm going to start with the heaviest piece, but I am going to need a bit of help because it's quite a large art piece. So my assistant Abel is actually going to carry it through for me and position it. That's it. Not too close. That's it. Great. Okay. Then I'm going to go to the next tallest piece, which is this organic wooden sculpture.
So now the thinking behind that is that, you know, you'd often start with the biggest piece and then almost start creating balance.
Yeah. You need to balance your talls with your shorts, and you also don't want any straight lines. So you have to have a variation in your heights.
Right.
So now these are fairly similar heights. So I'm going to want to break that up with stuff here.
All right, let's do that.
And these are just a collection of penny gum leaves.
You've brought in a little bit of black because you've got a black frame going on here, and now you're building the colors out. Is that what we're doing?
That is exactly what I'm doing. I love blue and black together, and obviously we've got a scheme going here that's quite blue. So I'm going to bring in my next bit of blue,
Okay.
which is these two boxes. I'm going to put the small one on top of the larger one. And I'm going to put another bowl of flowers, which is, again, it's not even flowers, it's just leaves.
Yes.
Just to give us a touch of green. And this one is going to go kind of behind, like that. In fact, I'm going to just shift things as I work.
That's good.
There we go. So we've just got a couple of leaves, very casual, not anything formal about this.
And we spoke earlier about how to introduce the idea of the space when it comes to this. I've never seen an elaborate focal point on a dining room table. What's your vision with this?
Well, what I really want to do here is leave a bit of space to serve my food. But because we're not serving a meal here and now, I'm going to make this space come to life by serving a little drinks table. So I'm going to put some glasses and champagne and a couple of bottles of wine, or whatever we've got that just adds a touch of festivity to the whole space. Okay, so in summary, what we've done here is we've collected a whole group of various different items that all have a different color, a different density, and a different height structure to all of them. So we've started with the art piece, which is the biggest and the tallest, which sits at the back, weighted by, on the very end, a kind of a tall, spindly, rather organic sculpture, balanced out by a kind of a low to medium range height here with the drinks and the glasses and the ice. We've got light refraction in the middle from the convex mirror, and then another tall, spindly item in the middle with the candlestick, and then the boxes on the end tie in the blue with the blue glasses.
This is really harmonious. I think a very excellent example. I believe you've also got a few other focal points in the house, particularly one in the lounge that I'd like to take a look at. Shall we do that?
Yes.
Let's go. So this is your summer lounge, and what is the intention with this particular focal point?
Look, the principles of the focal point are the same as they were previously. You've still got your talls balanced out, your kind of middle heights, a thin, a fat at the back, a something little in the front, and something interesting on the end here. But what I've tried to do here is include my plants, because I really love living plants in an interior. I just think they just give a sense of people living here.
Yeah, the sense of life.
Yeah.
Every week we have a viewer who sends us a photo and basically asks us a question around the topic. If we can help this viewer, I'm just going to read out what she'd like.
Yes.
She says, "Hi guys, I have a very small lounge with an open plan kitchen and a bright yellow wall on the one side. I have 2 odd couches, which were a gift, that don't fit at all, but I value the gift and I'm not sure what to do. I also love plants and have a few of which I would not want to part with. However, I'm not sure how to balance everything out. I need some advice, please." Her name is Kim. So here we are. That's her yellow wall,
Yes.
sitting nicely behind a TV there. But let's let her know what she's doing right.
Well, I think she's doing a lot right. I think her heavy couches have been nicely balanced by the bright yellow on the walls. And your couches are always your biggest investment. So you don't want to start chopping and changing too much there, because it's going to cost you a lot. And I think the arrangement of the room is good. My comment would be to pull it together. I think that the red carpet needs to go. I think that could be replaced possibly with a softer rug, perhaps in tones of beige or brown, something quite neutral that doesn't fight too much with the strength of the brown and the yellow. And I'd also add a coffee table, perhaps something light. It could even be Perspex or it could be brass and glass, or there are a number of different variations out there. And then possibly with the plants, particularly as Kim seems to be very fond of her plants, is to maybe make a grouping of those on the coffee table and kind of draw the eye in and make that the focal point of the space. Perhaps sort of try a couple of different containers and add a few bulking agents, as it were, possibly something like a big aloe with the smaller pieces that she's got.
Bulking agents, I like that. I see that she's tried to actually create a feature wall, and the difference between the feature wall and a focal point in a space
It's not a huge amount.
Yeah.
Not a huge amount. I think she's done very well with her pattern. I see that she's done a kind of a diagonal kind of white stripe, which I think looks really great. I mean, it's almost a pity that the TV hides it.
Yeah.
But I mean, a TV's a fact of life, so we can't really remove them entirely, can we?
If you could maybe potentially find another corner for it, it'd be fantastic.
That would be great, because then you could possibly put a mirror there and a couple more plants and sort of build something up on that table, which would create another focal point.
That's really good advice. Thank you so much, Tessa. Good luck to you, Kim. And if you're a viewer and you have any questions around your space, please remember to mail us on info@thehomechannel.co.za and you could have one of our experts give you some advice. Well, after the break, we have Sharon Nicolaci and she'll be diving deeper into focal points. Stay tuned. Here's Sharon Nicolaci and she's going to show us how she's used focal points in her home.
When you walk into a room, the points of interest can tell you a lot about the people living in the home. Interior designer and art lover Sharon Nicolaci of Spagash Interiors shows us how she's used various focal points to add interest to each of the rooms in her house.
Okay, now focal points are an interesting thing because years ago you would concentrate on one focal point. But today it's quite different because homes are open plan. So rooms lead into each other. And you can never just have one focal point in a room anymore. A focal point has to be where you walk and your eye rests. If a client has something that they love and it's beautiful and it means something to them, you could start with that focal point. But generally, as you design and develop the interior, because when you start doing an interior of a room, it has to have a balance of color, lighting, texture, weight. So the focal point comes automatically and you know immediately, okay, that room needs a beautiful big mirror on that wall, or that room needs, I can use this collection of amazing plates that the client has, I can put it on that wall. It will look fantastic because the color, the tone, the look and feel fits in so well with what is happening in that particular spot. It was quite a painstaking process for me to get to where I'm at. The house had a renovation. I already had quite a lot of beautiful pieces of furniture. I already had collected a lot of art. In the development of my own home, I had to take all of that into account. And as you know, sometimes like hairdressers never know when to cut their hair or how to cut their hair. And it's exactly the same for me. It's full of my own personal history and special things that I've collected over the years that have meaning to me. And I think every home should have those personal things that mean something to you. And that's where the skill comes in, actually, is how you combine these things together to make them look beautiful, comfortable, luxurious, and still on trend. Okay, so this is the entrance hall. It's very important that when you create your entrance hall, you set the tone for the rest of the home. This is an antique reproduction that is manufactured in America. The picture that I have here is an antique portrait that I picked up in Italy. And the two pieces work so beautifully together because the color, the tone, the harmony of the two pieces just gel perfectly. Lighting is a very important aspect. You want to create not only daylight, but you want to create night light and create a beautiful balance which is warm and has a lovely ambient feeling. A lot of people don't understand the importance of a beautiful entrance hall because really the pieces that you select and the mood that you create in the entrance hall will reflect on what you can anticipate or expect in the rest of the home. So this is the main bedroom, and it's very important that you create a space that is harmonious, that is peaceful and luxurious and makes you feel special.
In the main bedroom, Sharon's used a charcoal sketch as a point of interest, as well as a firewall at the bottom of the bed to create balance.
A space is like a scale. If you don't have that balance, it's lopsided. And it feels like that. And a lot of people will always say, what's wrong with this space? It doesn't feel right. It's because it's not balanced. So if I didn't have this focal point at the bottom of the bed, it would feel unbalanced. It would feel like there was something missing, and you wouldn't really know what it is. This is the dining room, and it's open plan, so it flows through into the lounge. The focal point here is the big handmade sideboard, and above that hangs a beautiful row-lit painting and lamps. Lamps are very important. They create a great mood and ambiance, and every room should have their lamps. This is quite a comfortable room. It's open plan, and it actually has 4 focal points because there are 4 different areas within the space that lend itself to creating that focal point. We have this wall over here that you can't put a couch against it because it wouldn't be functionable and it would look out of place completely. In this case, it would be a tablescape with a beautiful mirror.
One of Sharon's most cherished art pieces has been used to create a focal point on the main wall above the couch. The fireplace also makes the lounge a warm and cozy sanctuary in winter.
Number 4, we have the other side of the lounge, which allows for a smaller section of entertainment, because sometimes you only have maybe 2 people that are coming to visit you or you're entertaining. So you can use the smaller section of the room, which that side lends itself perfectly to. Above there, I have my very special Donald David hanging above the 2 chairs.
Creating strong focal points can help you fill up awkward spaces. Your bathroom need not be left out in the process. A bookshelf and art are great space fillers.
It's very important to make those small little nooks and spaces in your home, give it a purpose, give it a function, and give it an interest.
Great work there from Sharon Nicolaci. So much to explore. But unfortunately, we've come to the close of the show, and we just would love one final piece of advice from you. If there was one thing that we could use for focal points, what would that be?
I'd say it has to be a vessel or a container of some description, because, you know, containers you can have so much fun with, and you can put plants in them, you can put candles, you can put flowers, you can put leaves from the garden, or you can put nothing in them. And they just look really, really fantastic if grouped together on a table.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Tessa, for your time. I think we've had lots of points of interest, and you've really shared with us a lot of the amazing things that you've done in this space. So thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Unfortunately, we have come to the end of the show. From me, Pilani Bubu, this is Design for You, and we're here to keep you inspired.